Today, the 15th day of the month of Iyar, exactly 30 years ago, the Rebbe came back from the Ohel, and then later on, in the most unusual, unexpected manner, he decided to distribute a certain kuntras. A copy of it is over here, and it is called the Dvar Malchus, the words of royalty. In this kuntras, in this booklet, the Rebbe has 4 essays discussing the Rambam Maimonides laws in Hilchos Melachim, Laws of Kings, chapter 11 and chapter 12. Basic, extensive, deep essays. Worldwide now, there is a tremendous effort in studying those essays. And for the very obvious reason, as the Rebbe said, that studying the laws of Moshiach and Geula will hasten its coming. Now we all want this. So you can join this effort. There's a website called tutaltz, tutaltz.com, and you have it all there. So what I want to do today and the next 2 days, if God forbid we will still be in exile, very briefly give you a synopsis of the first of those essays, which is based on the beginning of chapter 11 of Hilchos Melachim, Laws of Kings of Maimonides. Please join me on that most, I think, interesting journey. Intellectual journey, emotional journey, and more than anything else, faith journey. The Rambam starts the following. Hamelech HaMoshiach Osid Lamoid Ulahazir Malchus David Liyoshna Lememshala Rishona. In the future, or we should say, hopefully now, a descendant, the Messianic king, will arise and renew the dynasty of King David. He will restore it to its initial sovereignty. He will build a temple and gather the dispersed Jews of Israel. And then, in his days, all the observances that we were not able to do during time of exile once again will be restored. We will bring sacrifices in the temple. We'll be able to observe properly the laws of Shemitah, sabbatical year, and Jubilee, and so on. And then the Rambam says the following, some harsh words. Anyone who doesn't believe or anticipate his coming, not only does he deny the words of the prophets, but the Torah itself and the words of Moshe Rabbeinu. Why? Because the Torah testifies to the coming of Moshiach. The Torah testifies to the ultimate redemption. Because the Torah in the Devarim says, "V'shav Hashem Elokecha shevuscha, v'richamecha v'shav v'kipetzcha." God will return you. I will ingather you. And it brings a few more verses. It says, and this concept is filled in Torah and specifically in the words of the prophets, which include these few verses. Then he continues, in the prophecy of Bilam, the prophet that Balak called to curse the Jews, but he ended up blessing us, and not only blessing, but giving us the prophecy of the coming of Moshiach. And there the Rambam goes in at length and explains the different verses, and he breaks it down into 2 stages, saying the following. Part of the pasuk refers to King David, and the other part of the verse refers to Moshiach. And he calls them Vishnei HaMeshichim, the 2 anointed kings, the 2 Moshiachs, because Moshiach basically means anointed. So there is one which is King David, and then the final Moshiach. Further to this, in the next halacha, in the next law, the Rambam says, in the Torah we talk about city of refuge. If a person, God forbid, killed somebody accidentally, he has a place where he can be protected, and it's called the Ir Miklat. And the Torah says, eventually, when God will enlarge your boundaries, then you will add an additional 3 cities of refuge. This has never happened yet. So obviously it is going to happen. That's what the Rambam says. The Rebbe asks a few basic questions, many of them. I will just bring a few. The Rambam is out to tell us the need to believe in the coming of Moshiach. So he quoted the verse, there will be redemption. why is it necessary for him then to bring further proof of the prophecy of Bilam? Now, when he's speaking about the prophecy of Bilam, he's breaking it down into two anointed, David and Moshiach. Rambam is not a commentary on the verse. He could have just said, Bilam prophesied the end of days. Then he brings a third proof. For what purpose? We already have two proofs. The city of refuge. Now, if this is an integral part of the proofs, then why is it in a separate halacha? The Rebbe has many more questions. Suffice just to mention those three. In other words, to indicate that Rambam has something more in mind than just telling us that we need to believe in his coming. Hopefully I won't have to discuss this tomorrow because we will have Moshiach with us today.